Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Greatness Engineering Hour show, and welcome for you, the new viewer. Today, it's a special show. You normally used to have me on Monday and on Friday, but this one is just a crack for you, and I really think that you're going to enjoy it. So just to remind you, my name is Mireille Tulekima, and the show is brought to you by the Mireille Tulekima Global Leadership Organization. And today we're going to talk about world history. So, what is history? Because I think a lot of us don't really know what it is. And so, history is talking normally about the past. But then you're going to ask me, why is a 10 years old be interested by the past? So that's what we're going to find out today, because my guest today is actually my youngest guest since I started the show 3 years ago. And he's 10 years old. His name is Zac Sangeeth, and is coming to us. He's tuning in all the way from India. So a little bit about Zac. Zac is actually 10 years old, like I mentioned, and is passionate about history. He's the world's youngest historian and youngest commissioned nonfiction series author. And he's also, he has a series of books, and the first in the series is World History in 3 points, and it was released just recently. And we'll get the opportunity to ask Zac about it and know a little bit more about this book. So he is also a public speaker, and you'll see that he's a very confident 10 years old, and is spoken to international stage. So I'm not gonna stay here and talk about Zac. I will bring Zac himself, and he will let us know about his career, I would say, as an historian, but also about his upcoming book. So make sure you have your pen and get ready for an amazing show. Another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show, the show that is brought to you by the Mireille Tulekima Global Leadership Organization.
Real is important is if you just look at the word compassion, when it's behavior, it's something that can be learned, and it is something that we can embody through habits and through our daily actions.
To get this idea that if we interject this wisdom intentionally, I call them needle movers. It's the needle mover that's missing.
Don't deprive the world of your greatness. Please. Don't do that anymore. Dare to excel, dare to be sexy, dare to be you, dare to be the best version of yourself. Impact yourself positively, and from there impact others. And you are not alone.
So, welcome, welcome to the Greatness Engineering Hour show. Welcome, Zac. And it's a pleasure. It's really a pleasure to have you today and to
Not
learn about you because it's just, amazing. Your story is amazing and really know that the audience is going to like it. But before we get into, the midst of our conversation, I just want you to introduce yourself and let us know what actually led you to become an historian at such a young age.
my name is Zac Sangeeth. I'm a 10-year-old historian and the author of the history book series World History in 3 Points, which is published by Hachette, the second largest trade book publisher in the world. And in fact, my story is it's a very interesting story. When my parents went for a trip to Paris, my mother came back and she was flipping through the images on the iPad of her trip, and she showed the Louvre Museum and a small painting over there, which the entire crowd was drawn to. And when I asked her what this painting was or who was in it, she told me that it was the Mona Lisa, which was the most famous painting in the world, painted by Leonardo da Vinci. I got hooked onto this painting. I started researching about it. And when my dad found out about my interest in this painting, he showed me an episode in a series called Museum Secrets on the Louvre Museum where this painting hanged. Uh, and I got interested in this. I started watching some other episodes in the Museum Secrets because after that we had a trip to Turkey, and over there was this museum called Museum Hachette. Got interested in it. I began watching more episodes in Museum Secrets, and soon I found myself having a great interest for history, a passion, and I began reading about it. I began reading in websites, in books. It's around that time when my teachers were complaining about my motor skills and my handwriting skills. So they said I should begin writing essays, at least a page a day. It was around that time that I got hooked into history, and I decided I'd begin writing history because I found it very difficult to remember all these facts from the past. I decided the easiest way to remember it would be just to write it down. I began writing, and that is when I found out history is too long winded and difficult to write on. I started using a pattern used by storytellers, which is known as the situation, the complication, and the resolution or solution. And when I began writing this, I realized this technique worked very well for topics like empires, emperors, dynasties, warriors. But for topics like philosophers, thinkers, economists, sociologists, this this didn't work well. So I came up with my own formula, which is now known as the 3 points formula.
Mm-hmm.
This consisted of three things: the past, so what happened before this specific event or personality; the present, so what happened during this, what was there before this event or personality, what was the belief, and then what did that specific thing change, and then there was a future, which was the impact of that thing, how that thing has changed how we look at the world today. And then I began writing these essays, and I had a compilation. Around that time is when COVID struck. I had online classes, and I only had around 3 hours of class, so I decided the rest of my time, why don't I begin writing? I wrote and wrote, and I have around 101 topics. And then the publisher Hachette reached out to me, and they said they would like to publish my book and publish this compilation of essays. And that is what is now World History in 3 Points.
Whoa, that's amazing. Congratulations. And,
Right.
it's just, I'm just impressed by the discipline and also the passion because, you have to be passionate about, history or a subject to be able to spend so much time and so much energy to really, get, a product that will actually help others. So why do you think history is an important subject? Because, when I talk to people, a lot of people find history quite boring. They say, okay, it's about the past. I don't really want to know all those facts. There's a lot of data. It's complicated. So why do you think it's important to bring it in and really bring back the passion and the fascination about history?
Today's people are concerned with the present and the future. The present, because that is what we have to go through now, and the future, because we know that will impact our lives later on. But history is the past. We have no control of history. And because we think that the past is useless, history is boring, history is perceived as boring, and it is presented wrong. By presented wrong, I mean for the modern generation, you would like to have these facts in history easy. But we have made this history into hundreds of difficult pages to digest. And because of that, we do not see the reason why history is really interesting. I'm going to try and give some tips or give some things shown on how history can actually be used well. So first of all, there is I'm going to take this from the Georg Hegel, who in fact is a German philosopher, one of my most favorite in fact. He teaches about how the history can change the present and the future. We believe that the present is the best time. We have evolved from the past. We are more modern. The present is the best. But Georg Hegel says that the present might be good, but we can make it better by taking things from the past and making the present better. Let me give you an example. Today's people are individual. We always are looking at our phones or staring at a device. But in ancient Greece, we can learn how to live in communities. And if we took this idea of living in communities and putting it right now, if we used it right now, we could all be more social, we could have more fun together. Instead of always being lonely, then there is a Cartesian doubting method. So, this is by a French philosopher, Rene Descartes. He teaches us how we should doubt things and make specific things, specific problems easier. So, for example, questions like what is life, or what is love, or why do we live? He says that this Cartesian doubting method can simplify those uh, those kinds of questions, and he gives you 4 steps to do this. To simplify it, the first one is to doubt everything, doubt the entire problem until there's nothing left. Then break this problem into multiple parts. The third step being complete the easy and simple parts first and fast, and then do the tougher parts. And the last is to think everything through and make sure that you have done everything correctly. And an interesting thing is that I even use this for my homework once in a while.
That's
Then there
that's
is the
fantastic.
Epicurean method by the Greek philosopher Epicure. He teaches us how to be more happy. The Epicurean method shows that we should take pleasure in life, we should be happy with what we have instead of longing for more. And in fact, he says one of the important things to be happy is to have justice. And this justice is supposed to be a contract which says I will not harm, but I will neither be harmed. And in fact, a great philosopher named Immanuel Kant tells us how to deliver this contract, how to deliver justice. He says that locking up a person or torturing a person would never really deliver justice. He won't understand his mistake. But the best way to do it is to do the crime back to him.
Mhm.
Let me give you an example. If a thief steals from you, he will not learn justice, and you will not get justice unless you steal something valuable back from that thief. Only then he'll understand, he'll realize his mistake. So, this is what Immanuel Kant says. Yes.
Mhm.
So, history is important because history helps us to live better, and history can help us change the present and the future.
I love it. I love this quote, history, help us to live better and can help us to change, the present and the future. So we're gonna have a break, and I hope you are enjoying, you are enjoying you're enjoying Zach. He's just amazing. He knows so much. I'm impressed. I'm inspired. But let's have a break, and then we will be back with Zach to know a little bit more about his book and understand the challenges and the opportunities as well that he has being a young historian. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in few minutes. So we are back. We are back with Zach. As you can see, you can buy his book on Amazon India. And just a break on to see who we have here. We have Pat tuning in from South Africa, and she is amazed, just like me. Incredible, and congratulations! I love the thoughts and perspective. Yes, he is amazing,
Thank you very much.
and I hope that you've been able to take notes, because this was very powerful. Whatever what Zach shared just now. So just to go back to your book, Zach. How is your book different, from compared to the many books that we have right now on history? What are the key things that you think you're bringing with the book?
Most books out there in the market take the worm's eye view of history. A worm has a microscopic view where even a blade of grass or dewdrops are all intricate and are in great detail. When this is in history, you can see history boring. It'll be through hundreds of pages. No one wants to take this microscopic view of history. Well, this hundreds of pages could do well for a professional who wants to research history in deep. But for ordinary people out there, making history so long winded and boring, people will not like history, the ordinary people out there, and would rather like to go with a different subject. My book, World History in 3 Points, takes the bird's eye view of history, a telescopic vision. Picture a bird thousands or hundreds of feet above the ground, looking at the world down below, and it can see everything, but it can only see what it wants to see, only the important things.
Mhm.
And it can see a telescopic vision. And I think that for the Twitter and Instagram generation, for the young generation, they can this will help them get interested in history.
Mhm.
Seeing just seeing history presented in fact three bite-sized easy capsules, they will find history much more fun and much more easy to read, which I think will make a impact on how history is perceived today in this era. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
And it's really good to mention the new generation, because they don't take the time to read, very thick books and very detailed book. They, like you said, they're used to Twitter, they're used to Instagram, so they really want visual thing, but also things that are not too long, so that they can you know get the information quickly. But I see that you've actually grown so much, your knowledge in history. But did it come with challenges? What are the challenges that you encounter actually as a young historian? Because there must be some challenges.
In fact, there are many challenges of being a historian, but I think there are two important and difficult ones which I face. First of all, history is a story of people. And when it's a story of people, there will be differences of opinions. Let us take an example. Greeks would say something, but Romans would say against that. And then Persians would say against what the Romans are saying. And then Indians would be against what the Persians are saying. And this would go on and go on. Let me give you a simple example. The Romans would say that the best emperor is Augustus Caesar or Julius Caesar, while the Greeks would say that it would be Alexander the Great. And Indians would say that the best emperor is Chandragupta Maurya or Ashoka. And like this, there are many examples. Hence, objectivity is important in history, which I think is a big challenge I face. Then the
Mhm.
second challenge would be referring pages and pages just to understand a small thing. A place where I especially face this problem is the Silk Road. So when I was studying about the Silk Road, I had to go through pages and pages just to understand a small thing, and then I had to put that back in 3 points in my book. So that again is very difficult. Those are two challenges I face as a young historian.
So I mean, but you're so passionate. You seem to handle all those challenges very well, and that's amazing to see. So based on the experience that you have, and all the knowledge that you have in history right now, what advice will you give to not only the young people who want to follow in your footsteps? Because that's again a challenge, like you mentioned, for young people to really get fascinated and passionate about history. So what are the advice that you will give them that can help them to follow on your footstep?
My advice for young people out there is small events define your life. For me, in my life, it was my parents showing me the Mona Lisa. And when I got hooked onto that, I started researching history. At that same time, my teachers were complaining about my motor skills, and thus I started writing essays. And at the same time, I started writing essays. COVID struck, and I began writing started putting these essays together as a book. So it's these small incidents that define your life. So my most important advice for young people out there is if you want to you should go through your life consciously. Make sure you're seeing everything. For me, especially for me, I felt like life was in fact guiding me to history. And another thing I think is I'm still a child. I'm only 11 years old. So I also know that I have the time to experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe along the future, I might not like history, or I might choose a different subject. But for now, so I know that I'm still a child. It gives me time to experiment. And as my editor once said, I can wander as much as I want, just I should not get lost.
Whoa, that's a very good advice, and I'm impressed. But the thing is, when you're saying I'm still a child, I have a very difficult, it's very difficult to think, and I see that the audience is going nuts. We have. This Asmi, she's tuning in from Brunei, and she loved the session. She said, "Amazing session," and we also have from LinkedIn, Amarashi, Zac, usually are incredible, and we also, she's very, very go for your life consciously. I think that's a good nuggets that you just drop, and you're just, fascinating everybody. And Pat, that's so profound, and I agree with you, Pat. That's really profound for an 11, I was saying 10, for an 11 years old to be so wise and really educating us here and mentoring us about life and about history. So we're going to take another break, and we will be back with Zac for the last part of the show. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in few minutes. So we are back. We are back with Zac, and just remind you to have your pen, your paper, and to write down whatever Zac is sharing with us today. This is deep, like and profound, like Pat is saying, and it is a learning for all of us. And it's just amazing that it's coming from an 11 years old who's still growing, and we can't even imagine what it's going to be in 10 years from now. So talking about grown-ups and adults, what are the advice that you want to give to adults, especially regarding everything that you've learned as part of being an historian? Do you have an advice for grown-ups like us and parents, to give us?
Well, I gave advice for younger children, but for grown-ups, I think I'm still too young to give them advice. Parents devote their lives to children, and for all parents, their children are special. And I think that is the most important advice I can give a grown-up. You should know that your child is special, just like how I am most special to my parents.
Fantastic, and I love it. I love it, that each child is special, and parents should know that, because sometimes what we do is we compare our children with other children. We start to see flaws. So we have to understand that each child is really special, and we have to treat them like a special diamond that we have in our hand. So I mean, to just continue in the same type of thoughts, what are your expectations for the future? I know you're still young. I know you're still developing, you're still growing, you're still learning, you're still expanding. But what are your expectations at this point in time for the future?
history is presented wrongly. And I want to help the younger generation. I want to help them get interested in history. So I have three things I expectations for the future that I think if we implement them well, we can make history a more fun subject. First of all, we can use methods like the 3 points method, which takes a bird's eye view of history, where in under around 3 minutes, you can develop a proper perspective on a specific topic in history. And so I'm working on a sequel to this specific book, and I think that the more topics we can get, the more history can be fun. The younger generation can, instead of can just have can read history like a Twitter thread or a Instagram post. The second thing, in fact, I recently so I'm also a kid, and I figured that kids find fiction exciting, fiction more fun. And they say that with fiction, you can transport yourself to another world. In a Harry Potter, you could go to a magical world where you could ride on top of broomsticks. And everyone wants to enter another world. And books, of course, helps. But if we could have this with history, then history could be perceived in a new light, in a totally new light. And I found out how to make history similar to fiction. I could, you could show how a random thing, a bizarre thing, resulted in the most important events today.
Mm-hmm.
For example, how a Bronze Age Assyrian muddy road resulted in the rise of the Roman Empire, the fall of Constantinople and the Ottoman Empire taking over Constantinople, how the discovery of the New World and the Indian independence. So this Assyrian muddy road took you did all these important things in history. So of course, and like that, you can be transported to another world, not
Mm-hmm.
the boring old past, but a different type of vision of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And something I've also found is that comics are really fun. So comics is just a person who is narrating something, and there are speech bubbles. Children find comics really fun and exciting. I found out that those Tintins and Asterix, we can make them into history comics, and then history can be seen in a new light, in a fun light. I, in fact, have been working on these comics myself on my YouTube channel. And what happens is that there's an avatar who's usually my avatar,
Mm-hmm.
and he speaks. He goes and he walks into the past, and he speaks with another person, and you can go into history through these comics. And I think if we use things like this, making fiction, using comics to make it more fun, I think then history can be seen in a new light. History can be perceived in a new way. And like that, history can slowly become more fun for the Twitter and Instagram generation.
Fantastic. So history, we can make history fun, and Zach, as you know, find a way to do it. You can please, get his book. Make sure you get his book to understand exactly what is, is shared today. Obviously, we can't share everything right now. All the details are in the book. So if you can get the book from Amazon India, but I think it's probably going to be on Amazon International, wherever you are. So get the book and get educated by this, smart young 11 years old, and really, don't be shy about it. Make sure you take his advice and you share his message, you share whatever is shared today. So just to, for the audience, and obviously, let's just have a small break here again. uh there's Pat actually saying, I have goosebumps. Zach, best advice to parents. So saying that, children are, unique, and we should cherish them. And today my learning was elevated to another level from the lens of an 11 years old. Thank you, Zach. So a lot of learning, a lot of, inspiration today. And as you can see, it's not about age, it's about, greatness, and we all have this greatness. And Zach has this greatness now, earlier than all of us. He realized the greatness that he has, and really focusing on living, his passion of, about history. So Zach, before we actually close out on the show, just want to know, how can people, connect with you, and if there is anything that you want to share with the audience. Is there, obviously there's a book coming in. Is there a, an event, or any other things that you want to share with us?
So first of all, if you want to connect to me, you can, most importantly, you can look at my YouTube channel. It's called Learn World History in 3 minutes. And in my YouTube channel, Learn World History in 3 minutes, I present to you some of these comics I spoke about, where you can understand these history. You can see a comic guide you through history in just 3 minutes.
Mhm.
My Twitter is at Sangeeth Zac, where I narrate some interesting threads in history, how random things resulted in one of the most important events today. So I present my threads over there. My Instagram is Zac Sangeeth, where you can see my some posts I put on comics, on my comics, on threads also. And if you wanna, my book is World History in 3 points. If you are in India, you can purchase a copy. If you are elsewhere, you can always buy online or Kindle edition. My last message to all of you out there is, I hope you enjoy history. History teaches us to be happy. History can transport us to another world in the past. History helps us answer difficult questions. History helps us answer others' views. And I have just 3 words: history is fun, history is cool. Let's learn history together.
Fantastic, and I agree with this comment. Young genius here. Yes, we have, we have communicated today. We have exchanged today with a young genius, and it's so beautiful to see, the knowledge that you have, Zach. And I thank you for your time, for gracing, the platform, my platform, the Greatness Engineering Hours show. And it's really about greatness. As the audience can see, we have champions out there, and they are, making a difference, and impacting the world, whatever their age, and Zach is one of them. So make sure you connect with him, and support his work, and his passion of, making us more passionate about history. And and the way he presented is actually very, very appealing, because I know that personally history sometimes I find it boring, but the way it is described, and it's just so practical, I think it gives me another, another dimension of history that I didn't see before. So thank you very much. And thank you for everybody who've been here supporting us and being part of this conversation. I hope, you've learned a lot and you've been inspired. And I really hope that you're going to support, Zac, and get to know more about his work, and especially buying his book, and connect with him. He gave you all the contact, how to see his work and how to connect with him. So thank you again, Zac. Have a great enjoy the rest of your day. And it
Thank you
has
very
been
much. Thank
an amazing conversation today. And just to go to the audience again, kudos to Zach parents for helping him on his skills. Yes, like Zach himself said, he's been cherished, and his parents really treat him as as special as he should be treated. So thank you very much to the parent as well, and thank you as well to you, Pat, for always being there. So thank you, and I will be back tomorrow on with another episode of the Greatness Engineering Hour show. We're going to the US tomorrow. It's going to be two ladies, and we're going to talk about the importance of multiple stream of income for women in business. So it's going to be again another great show, and I hope that you're going to join us. For now, all bye bye, and see you tomorrow, and enjoy the rest of your day, and make sure you share what's been done, what's been said today. It doesn't have to stay here. We really want you to share Zach greatness and Zach work. So see you, and uh,
thank you
and
very
uh,
much.
and bye bye, and thank again, Zach. Enjoy the
Thank you
rest of
for
your
having me
day.
here.
Bye.
Thank you for having me here. Bye.